Here's the podcast script. Neither the war nor Trump's deal terminated the main threats in Iran. That's the headline from a New York Times news analysis, and it's raising serious questions about what, exactly, the United States achieved. When President Trump launched a military campaign against Iran on February 28, he framed it as an unprecedented move, a step toward transforming the Middle East and ending what he called a wicked, radical dictatorship. Now, roughly 100 days later, the United States and Iran have reached a memorandum of understanding to end the war. And many analysts are asking, what actually changed? The short answer, according to experts, is not much of what was promised. Iran's nuclear program was heavily damaged, but not eliminated, its fate punted to future negotiations. The country's ballistic missiles? The deal doesn't even address them. Iran's authoritarian government survived, with new leaders in place. Its network of regional proxies remains intact. And Israel and Hezbollah are still attacking each other. Even the most concrete immediate win from the deal appeared shaky almost immediately. Trump had identified the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, the choke point for roughly one-fifth of the world's oil supply, as essential. But by Saturday, Iran's military said it was closing the waterway again, claiming the U.S. had failed to stop the fighting in Lebanon. The U.S. military disputed that, saying the strait remained open per the agreement. Caitlin Talmadge, a professor at MIT who specializes in Persian Gulf security, put it bluntly, this is not a document the United States agreed to because the war demonstrated a new U.S. military superiority. I think it's a document that has resulted from the fact that the United States bit off more than it could chew and doesn't want to escalate. She added that while avoiding escalation is a worthy goal, it raises the question of what was actually achieved, especially compared to the original Iran nuclear deal. Meanwhile, Iran walked away with substantial gains. The deal offers sweeping economic benefits: the lifting of an American naval blockade, a $300 billion reconstruction fund to be created by Gulf Arab states, the release of billions in frozen assets, and an end to all U.S. sanctions. The core of the agreement is that Iran will abandon its long-standing hostility toward the United States and its regional allies, a founding pillar of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, in exchange for those economic rewards. Vice President J.D. Vance framed this ambitiously, saying the deal could transform Iran's hostile posture toward the U.S. and the region dating back nearly 5 decades. People say the Iranians will never change their behavior, Vance said. Well, maybe that's true, and if so, they don't get any of the benefits of the bargain. But isn't it worth trying? Many experts aren't convinced. Karim Hagag, director of the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, warned that Middle Eastern wars tend to breed more radicalization, not less. The reality is that the region in the aftermath of this conflict will be much more insecure, he said. And there's a deeper strategic cost analysts point to. By actually using military force against Iran and then pulling back without achieving its stated goals, the U.S. may have burned through its most powerful tool, the credible threat of force. That's a lesson, analysts say, Iran will almost certainly internalize. Iranian attacks on U.S. military bases in the region also caused extensive damage, further eroding the perception that those bases were untouchable. The deal even includes a stipulation that unspecified American forces withdraw from the proximity of Iran within 30 days, a concession that former U.S. Ambassador Robert Ford called unprecedented, asking simply, when did we ever negotiate with the Iranians about our force deployments going forward? For Iran, the war's outcome looks quite different. Senior regime figures are openly celebrating. The Speaker of Parliament and lead negotiator, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said the war revealed Iran's ability to leverage control of the Strait of Hormuz in ways it had never previously activated. Tehran has also threatened to impose new transit fees on ships using the strait, something that didn't exist before the war. Israel, which entered the conflict convinced it would neutralize Iran as a threat for a generation, found itself sidelined. The memorandum ignored Israeli goals and restricted Israel's freedom to attack in Lebanon. President Trump has also repeatedly disparaged Prime Minister Netanyahu, exposing a rare and public fracture in the American-Israeli relationship. One retired Israeli intelligence officer described the deal plainly: it is a collapse of all the strategy that we had regarding Iran. Lebanon may be the agreement's most fragile point. Hezbollah had already alienated many of its supporters by dragging the country into 2 devastating wars, leaving thousands dead. But Iran's Revolutionary Guards are actively working to rebuild Hezbollah's military capacity, and some of the reconstruction money flowing to Tehran could make its way to the militia, giving Hezbollah reasons to persist rather than stand down. The war, the deal, the open questions, none of it has resolved the central tension at the heart of US-Iran relations. What it has done is change the landscape in ways that analysts are still trying to map. That's the picture emerging from the analysis, a war that ended not with a clear victor, but with a memorandum full of ambiguity and a region left more uncertain than before.